Studies show that doctors give black patients less pain medication than white patients for the exact same injury. Not in the 1960s. Right now. Today. And here's the uncomfortable part: most of those doctors had no idea they were doing it. They weren't monsters. They were just human. And the same force behind that is working inside every human brain, including yours. Including mine. That's what we're talking about today. Scientists built a test specifically to measure hidden bias. They ran it on people who genuinely believed they were fair, open-minded, good-hearted people. The results consistently surprised them. Not because they were bad people, but because the human brain is wired to sort, label, and judge before you even have a conscious thought about it. Understanding that wiring is the only way to disrupt it. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome. I'm glad you're here for this one. Today we're going into something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable: stereotypes and prejudice. And I want to be upfront right now: this video is not about guilt. It's not about making you feel like a bad person. It's about understanding one of the most powerful forces shaping how human beings see each other and giving you the tools to actually do something about it. By the end of this video, you'll understand where stereotypes and prejudice really come from, the different forms they take, including the ones that hide in plain sight, and you'll walk away with one concrete thing you can do in the next 24 hours. That's the promise. Let's keep it. What is a stereotype? Let's start with the foundation. A stereotype is a fixed, oversimplified belief about a group of people. Think of it like a mental filing cabinet. Every time you encounter someone new, your brain does a quick search: what file do I already have on someone like this? And then it fills in the blanks. Before that person says a single word. Here's why that happens: your brain is lazy. In a smart way. Every single day, your brain processes millions of pieces of information. To keep up, it takes shortcuts. It groups. It categorizes. It pattern matches. Psychologists call this cognitive efficiency. And for thousands of years, it kept humans alive. You see something unfamiliar in the wild, your brain pulls the closest file it has. Fast judgment. Fast reaction. Survival. The problem is we're still running that ancient software in a world it was never designed for. And before we go further, I need to address something. Not all stereotypes look negative. Some feel neutral. Some even feel like compliments. Asian students are great at math. Women are naturally more empathetic. Those sound fine on the surface, right? But here's what they actually do: they reduce a full human being to a single characteristic. They create pressure to fit that image. And the moment someone doesn't, they get judged for breaking it. A compliment that comes with a cage is still a cage. Types of stereotypes. Stereotypes don't all work the same way. Here are the 4 main forms they take. Type 1: explicit stereotypes. These are the ones people consciously hold and will sometimes say out loud. I just don't trust people from that neighborhood. People from that religion are dangerous. These are the easiest to identify and the easiest to call out. But they're becoming less common on the surface. Because here's what actually happens: people don't always lose the belief, they learn to hide it. It goes quiet. It gets coded. It comes out in jokes, in just asking questions, in patterns of behavior that are deniable one at a time but unmistakable in total. Which brings us to the type that causes far more damage precisely because no one sees it coming. Type 2: implicit stereotypes. These live completely below the surface. You're not aware of them. You deny them if asked. And yet they're there, quietly shaping decisions you believe you're making rationally. Scientists built a test called the Implicit Association Test, or IAT. It measures how quickly your brain connects certain groups with certain qualities. And the results consistently surprise people, including researchers, doctors, teachers, judges. Remember those doctors from the opening of this video? Many of them scored with racial bias on the IAT. They weren't aware of it. It wasn't a choice they made. But it still showed up in how they treated their patients. That's what makes implicit bias so important to understand. Not because it makes you a bad person, but because it operates whether you invite it or not. Type 3 prescriptive stereotypes. These don't describe what people are, they dictate what people should be. Men shouldn't show emotion. Women should be warm and agreeable. These stereotypes build invisible walls. And here's the part that gets brutal. If you fit the mold, you're seen as ordinary. If you break the mold, you're seen as threatening. A woman who leads assertively gets called aggressive. A man who expresses grief gets called weak. The wall doesn't disappear just because you can see it. But knowing it's there is the only way to start climbing. Type 4 descriptive stereotypes. These describe what people in a group are believed to be like. Teenagers are irresponsible. Old people can't handle technology. Poor people are lazy. They feel casual. Low stakes. Almost harmless. But watch what happens in the real world. A hiring manager who holds that last belief doesn't consciously think, I won't hire this person because of where they're from. They just feel a slight hesitation. A quiet doubt they can't quite name. And the candidate never gets called back. And nobody ever knows why. That's the quiet machinery of a descriptive stereotype. It doesn't announce itself. It just shapes outcomes. What is prejudice? Now let's talk about prejudice, because stereotype and prejudice are not the same thing. If a stereotype is a thought, prejudice is the feeling attached to it. Prejudice is a negative attitude toward a person based entirely on their membership in a group. Not what they did. Not who they are. Just what group they belong to. And notice that word, attitude. This isn't just thinking something negative. It's feeling it. That gut tightening. That instinctive distrust. That low-level discomfort you can't quite explain and might not even admit to yourself. And here's what makes it so powerful. You can carry prejudice and never act on it. You can be polite, professional, even kind, and still hold a quiet belief that some people are less capable, less trustworthy, less worthy of your full respect. It never shows up in what you say. But it shows up in who you hire. Who you mentor. Who you give opportunities to. And who you automatically give the benefit of the doubt, and who has to earn it. Prejudice lives in the mind and the heart. And that's exactly what makes it so hard to fight. Types of prejudice. Prejudice takes different shapes. Let's go through them, including one that almost nobody talks about. Racism, sexism, and identity-based prejudice. Racism, prejudice based on race. Sexism based on gender. Ageism, homophobia, religious. Prejudice. These are all variations of the same core mechanism. Before I know you, I already have a story about you. I want to be honest here, each of these deserves its own video, and they'll get one. The experiences they create are real and serious and worth full attention. But for now, the most important thing to understand is this. Research consistently shows these biases persist even in people who are completely convinced they don't have them. The most dangerous form of prejudice isn't the kind people know about. It's the kind they're absolutely certain they've outgrown. Benevolent prejudice, the one that hides in plain sight. I want to spend real time here because this one catches people off guard. Benevolent prejudice is prejudice wrapped in a compliment. You're so articulate, I'm really impressed. Wow, you're so strong. Women from your culture are incredible. You're so young and already this sharp. These feel like kindness. The person saying them almost always means well. But every single one of those statements reduces the person in front of you to a member of a category and judges them against that category rather than as an individual. You're not seeing them. You're seeing your idea of their group and grading them on a curve you created. Still a box. Still a label. Still a limit on how fully another person gets to be seen. The connection to discrimination. Here's where everything connects. Stereotypes, the thoughts. Prejudice, the feelings. Discrimination, the actions. Discrimination is when prejudice stops being internal and becomes behavior. It's when someone doesn't get the job. When someone gets followed in a store. When someone gets less medical care, less pay, fewer opportunities, not because of anything they did but because of a story that already existed about who they are. Discrimination doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not random. It starts as a thought. It grows as a feeling. And it becomes real in the world through action. This is why understanding the root matters so much. You can't fix discrimination by only changing behavior. You have to address the beliefs and feelings underneath it. Because if you leave those untouched, the behavior just finds a new way out. Can we actually change? I want to tell you something personal here. A while back I was walking down a street at night. A man turned the corner ahead of me. And I felt something, a small tightening. A quick assessment I didn't ask to make. And then I caught myself. Because I realized the automatic response I just had wasn't about him. It was about the story my brain had on file. A story built from years of media, news, environment, things I absorbed before I ever thought to question them. He was just a man walking. That pause I just described, that moment of catching myself? That's actually what the research says works. Not as an abstract idea, as a practice. Here are 3 things science has shown actually move the needle. 1. Contact theory. Psychologist Gordon Allport found that when people from different groups interact as equals working toward a shared goal, prejudice measurably decreases. Not just tolerance. Not just polite coexistence. Actual human interaction. As equals. Knowing someone's name, their story, their humor, their struggles, that makes the mental file obsolete. You can't hold a flat stereotype of someone you actually know. 2. Catching the moment. Like I just described, when you notice a snap judgment forming, pause. Ask yourself one question. Is this about this person, or is this a file my brain already had? You won't always get it right. But that question interrupts the automatic cycle. And that interruption is where change actually lives. 3. Deliberate exposure. Seek out stories, voices, and perspectives that challenge the mental files you already carry. The more your brain encounters complex, real, contradictory portrayals of any group, the harder it becomes to hold on to a simple story about them. You can't manually delete a stereotype. but you can flood it with information until it no longer fits. Here's the truth about everything we just covered. None of this makes you a bad person. Having implicit bias doesn't mean you're racist. Making a snap judgment doesn't mean you're prejudiced. It means you're human. It means you have a brain that learned things from your environment, your media, your community before you were old enough to question any of it. The difference between someone who stays stuck and someone who actually grows isn't that one person has no biases. It's that one person decided to pay attention. You decided to pay attention today. That matters more than you might think. So here's your one thing, just one, for the next 24 hours. Notice a moment where your brain makes a snap judgment about a person. Don't shame yourself. Just notice it. Ask, where did that come from? That one moment of awareness practiced over and over is how minds actually change. If this video hit differently than you expected, hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this content. Subscribe if you want more social psychology explained like this, real science, real language, nothing clinical. And drop a comment below. I want to hear from you. Have you ever caught a snap judgment you were making and surprised yourself? Be honest. This is a safe space. Those are always the most interesting comments. Share this with someone you think would find it valuable. You never know whose thinking you might shift today. I'll see you in the next one.